How's it going, guys? So, my birthday is at midnight, the 20th. So, I figured let me get this one out because I'm going to dinner with my family a little later. And then I will be obliterated off after that until the morning, which I have two slasher films that relate to birthdays that I'm going to have out tomorrow, which will be fun. So, I wanted to get out of the way Stage Fright by Michael Soavi. I think that's how you say his name. His name's spelled like Michelle in Italy, but then his name's Michael on a lot of his films. So Michael's his name, Michael Soavi, from 1983. Now I was thinking about this movie because I was going to do Terrifier last night, and then I decided I want to do another movie with Terrifier. So I'll do that tomorrow, the next day. But then I thought of Curtains that I talked about for a very little bit. And I was trying to think during that video and afterwards why that movie just didn't work for me this time. And I started thinking because I thought maybe it was the whole theater thing that has to do with it. I'm not into plays and all that. But then I thought opera is one of my favorite Argento films. And I'm not an opera person either. So that has nothing to do with it. And then I thought of Stage Fright. And I said, yeah, that's all musical production and everything. That I'm not into musicals either. And I love that movie. And on rewatch, still love this movie. It's such a good movie. So let's get into Stage Fright. We have I just love right from the opening, like how the first time you see this movie, you think it's just some prostitute getting strangled and everything, and then it turns out being all part of their musical. We have a pervy director, like in all of these movies that revolve around a show or a musical. Now, the tone in this movie is very strange for me to describe. Like, Soavi worked under Argento for a while. And of course, he went on and did The Church and a few others that are great movies that Argento worked with him and co wrote the script on and everything. So he has sort of like that Argento feel to it, like especially with some of the lighting he uses in this movie and other movies of his. But I can't call it like dreamlike. It's not like a dreamy, surreal feeling this movie has. It's more of a like a dream that you woke up from and then had time to like assess it and go through the dream. Does that make sense at all to anybody? Like, it doesn't feel like a straight up like surreal feel to the movie. It kind of does, but it kind of leaves you a lot more room to process what's going on. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how I describe the tone to this. Like, it's weird, but it's like a good weird. It's not like any bad in any type of way. Then we have a rape scene in a musical. I don't know. Like, for some reason, that made me laugh hysterically. Because, and for those of you who know me by now, like you'll know why. But like for those who don't, when you think of musical, when most people do, they think of like singing and dancing, which is normally evokes happiness and joy. So when you think of a musical, at least when I do, that's what I'm thinking of: happiness and joy and just like a good old time. Then hearing that there's a rape scene in a musical, my brain can only take what it has already and put it to that. So I'm just picturing like dancers on the side and like music, happy, cheery shit going off in the background while some chick is brutally being raped. Like, I know it's terrible, but like that's all I could think of. Like I was laughing hysterically, but like I'm sure they found a way to make it effective and not cheery at all. But we don't get to really see that scene, nor would I really want to. And then I like what the scenes with Allie looking into the jail cell and seeing Urban Wallace, the killer of this movie, that was like a serial killer before they caught him. And like every time she looks in the jail cell, it's like the color, the lighting is like this very calm blue, which kind of works really well in like juxtaposing with the fact that this guy's in a cell and then he's in jail. Because like normally you see the color blue, and like people even paint their rooms or babies' rooms blue for a more calming effect on the person. Red would be more the color that you'd expect to see in a jail cell. So I think it's a cool little contrast of having like that blue lighting in Wallace's jail cell, even though you know he should be, unless he is just feeling that cold. Maybe he's that cold-blooded of a killer, and then it just doesn't affect him at all. I mean, you can go either way with that, which is interesting. And if they only practice like 8 moves a day, they're fucked. Like they're supposed to open in a week, right? Like they say a few times. And then like mid-movie, it's like 3 days from opening night. The most we see these people practice, besides like the opening, is like less than a minute. Like there's a scene that like that's what I wrote down. There's a scene of literally the directors going 1, 2, 3, 4 and counting to 8, and then they stop because he gets into a conversation, and then they never practice again, like for a while. So these people are not prepared for this musical like at all, and we don't get to see it unfortunately either. So we don't know how prepared they are. I would love to see like an after credit sequence of the musical. Well, it would be them all dead, so I guess it doesn't really matter. And then we get a silverback gorilla jump scare in a car, which is annoying as always. And then the girl who gets pickaxed right into the mouth, that looks fucking awesome. I love that. Adore that kill. She just gets, you think it's going to be a lot more brutal than it is, but just the fact the other end of the pickaxe like literally goes right into her mouth, and like it looks like she swallowed it. It's awesome. Like it looks really cool. And then who names their cat Lucifer? Lucifer for a cat? Come on. Like, I mean, I could see if you're like a Satanist or fucking a devil worshiper or just like a weird motherfucker. Like, I could see that. I mean, the guy here, I mean, he seems like a pretty normal guy. I don't think he'd be naming his cat Lucifer unless it was already named that and he adopted this cat somehow or it came into his possession. I don't know. I just thought that struck me as strange. And that he might be the true killer of this movie. It's Lucifer the cat. He's controlling the killer, you know, through whatever the hell you want to call it. And when he says about the killer, the cops are like, we lost him. He just up and vanished and disappeared into the wind or something like that, or vanished out of thin air. That's what he says. He just up and vanished out of thin air, and we hear that saying a lot. But it made me like really think, how often do you hear cops actually say that in like a horror movie? That if they're looking for like a killer or they're looking for somebody, like he just up and vanished out of thin air. I can't recall many movies that they use that exact phrase. You hear it in real life all the time. But I don't know, just a random thought for you guys that popped into my head. And he gives the keys to that one girl. It says take the keys and hide them and stuff. He does though, like eventually ask where those keys were hidden, right? Otherwise they're all fucked. Like then they can't complain for getting locked in this building. Like he had to have like asked her like very shortly after, right? Like where do you hide those keys? Because she's the only one who knows. That was a stupid thing to do even without a killer around. What if she tripped and fell, broke her neck, an accident? You're all locked in there. So he had to have found out, right? Like she couldn't have been the only one, like who knew where those keys were. Like absolutely not. The whole making money off of somebody's death dilemma that they're discussing this. That the director says that after the news is out that this girl was murdered, how lines are going to be around the block and they're going to make so much money, and like I'm upset about her death too, just like the rest of you, but I need the money. And like said it's to all the actors and actresses, the same thing. They're like they haven't worked in years before this, or like they're struggling just as much. I mean, yeah, it is terrible to profit off of somebody's death like that. But I do see where he's coming from. Like I do. And I know that might seem like really cold-blooded, but like I do see where he's coming from. Like shit does happen, terrible things happen in the world. But people just have to like move on and do what's best for them. Like if they're struggling and they can't fucking survive, they need money. So do I agree with the whole idea of like using the death as like marketing for it? No, I think that's fucked up. I don't think you should change the play to reflect what happened in real life. That's fucked up. But like, I wouldn't cancel the play because of what happened. Like, no, like I just wouldn't. Like, because too many people, all the actors, actresses, crew, and myself in his situation need to fucking survive too, man. I mean, it's tragic what happened. Life goes on. Like I said, I know that might sound cold hearted, but like that's how I view the situation. Of course, if you were in that situation, it would be a lot different, and you'd have to think a lot harder, and in the moment and everything. But just thinking about it, like that's the conclusion I came to. And then we have this abortion subplot in here, which doesn't go anywhere. Like we see it talked about like twice, and I don't see it come up at all after that. So that's totally irrelevant. Like unless I miss something this time and every other time, but someone let me know if that actually plays into anything, because I'm like 99% sure it does not play into anything at all. It's just there to be there. And then the scene when the killer kills the girl on stage in front of all them, and they think it's still the actor. Awesome scene. Like really, really cool. Like he starts strangling her, and like the director saying like strangle her harder, and it's like, and he starts like really strangling this chick to death, then starts stabbing the shit out of her. Awesome scene. But no one noticed that this girl was really getting choked out. Like he's choking her for a bit. Nobody there can be like, no, he's like going way too hard. Like she can't fucking breathe. like nothing like that. And then like the first stabbing or so, like no one noticed that was strange. Like they react after like the second or third stabbing. But I just thought it was funny. Nobody noticed. Yeah, she's like really getting the fucking air, like really just like taken out of her, like real fast. Like should we like check on her? Nobody does that. And they just watch too. She gets stabbed, and nobody tries to bum rush this guy. Nothing, like just no reaction. And then I love also how I laugh hysterically, how they go and check on her body, and they're upset for like 2 minutes, and then they just shift all their attention to trying to find the key. Like it's all about the key at that point. Like it's hysterical how fast they like turn from just like this poor dead fellow actor of yours that's now dead, that was killed right in front of you, and now all you're concerned about is we gotta get the fuck out of here. Where's that key at? And I said, you should have found out from her. The owl mask look on the killer is stupid as shit. Like, I'm sorry. That's like the one thing about this movie that I just do not like, is the mask. That owl looks so stupid. Like, it really does. Like, it takes me out of the movie, like, every single time. Like, not anything severely and stuff like that, especially now because I know what to expect, like, after the first viewing, so, like, but it's such a dumb look. Like, take the hag mask from Curtains and put it on the killer in this movie and keep this movie exactly how it is, then you got a fucking winning recipe right there. Like, in the hag mask instead of the owl mask. That way, keep Curtains how it is, even more ridiculous, and then make this movie have a much creepier mask. That would be a win right there. But this movie is awesome as it is. It's just a kind of small thing. And you would think the look of your killer would be a much bigger thing, like, for me. Like, but for this movie, as good as it is, it doesn't really bother me. And then he ends up stabbing Ferrari, which I think is funny. His name is Ferrari. Like, he's like the financer of this whole production, and all he cares about is money. And then the director makes this line that the killer won't kill all of us. There's 6 of us. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Like, there's the killer. He won't kill all of you because there's 6 of you. We've seen many. Like, we've just in the Friday the 13th series alone, we've seen like almost double, like over double digits of deaths. So why this guy thinks that this killer can't kill all of them because there's 6 of them, I have no idea. Again, nitpicks. And then this one bitch is like screaming insanely loud and like obnoxiously when the killer's trying to get through the door, and there's like 5 people in front of her, like blocking her from the door. So she's like in the least immediate danger than the rest of them. And she goes on screaming for so long and so loud, and it's so obnoxious hearing this woman scream. And she's like the safest one out of all of them. I mean, yeah, I get it. You're in a terrifying situation, but could have toned it down for the movie. That was like a little irritating on my ears. Then we get the drill kill through the door when it comes in and drills the guy. It looks really cool. The gore is pretty good in this movie. Then after that, after them all being attacked and almost killed by the killer, is when the director says, "Oh, the storage, the workshop. I forgot all about it. Like that has everything we need to defend ourselves." You just thought of that now? Like you just thought of the workshop? Like not when the girl was killed on stage in front of you and you knew there was a killer around, and the first thing you should do is get a weapon or something to defend yourself? And he just thought of it now. I don't know, man. I don't know. I would have thought of that immediately. And then the girl getting pulled through the floorboard, and then they're like trying to like pull her arms to like take her out of the floorboard, and like a little game of tightrope that they're playing with the killer. And then they pull her top half, and it's like cut in half, and they just pull her top half out of the wood boards, and then he uses the chainsaw on the other guy that falls through. That's awesome. Awesome kills. Cool stuff with a chainsaw. And then the director guy, when he gets his hand cut off and gets decapitated, awesome. Like, I love the kills in this movie. Like, this is one thing I can separate immediately from Kearns, is the kills in this are so much better. Like, they're actually there. Like, just that alone. Like, and I'm not trying to compare the two movies, really, but just my experience rewatching them, at least the last few days, and them being kind of similar, revolving around, like, a production. But for the gore alone and the kills in this, puts it so much higher. Like, it's not even funny. And then we get some cool, like, long, white hallway shots with the final girl near the end, alley, I think her name was, right? And like I said, at the beginning of this month, I said that this whole month with slashers and everything is just going to be this girl and that guy and this girl and this person and the black guy over there and the gay dude there. Like, if I don't remember their names, because slasher movies, I'm not remembering people's names unless they're like a famous actor or actress. Oh, and then the shower scene, like when she finds Laurel in like bloody and bleeding out in the shower, and like she's in the other shower stall, and the killer comes in and like finishes Laurel off, and she has to watch that. That's a tense scene. I really like that too. And then the whole end chase score, the music in this movie is awesome too. Like, I love the score in this movie. Like, it fits it very, very well. And then we have that whole chase scene though with the killer and the final girl. Awesome. Tense. The score is good. Really, really cool chase sequence. And then when she gets back around to the stage and all the dead cast members are on the chairs and propped up on the stage, that looks awesome too. And then I love how you see this in a lot of movies, but like when like the victim's cowered in the corner and the killer's right above them, they just say like go away or get away. I don't know why they try that anymore. Like, 'cause it doesn't, it's not effective, like, at all. Like, just saying get away to a killer is gonna make them just so, like, reevaluate everything they've been doing the last, like, hour and a half. And then say, yeah, she's right. I shouldn't do this anymore. I should not be a killer. Do something is what I'm trying to say. Grab a weapon, like, defend yourself somehow. Like, crawl under his legs and run the other way. Do something. And then she fire extinguishes the killer, and he ends up falling off and like but hanging on to like the piece of like electric wire or something like that. And then she starts cutting the wire as he's climbing back up, and he crashes down to the ground. Just cool little ending for him. Well, what we think is the ending. And then, man, reporters just don't quit. Like, when she's getting taken out of there, and like, how long does it take before reporters like realize this girl's not going to say anything to us? Like, they go on and on, like, drilling her for questions and stuff. Like, do you see him die? Like, all these questions, and she's not saying a word, but they go on forever. Like, you'd think at some point, I would, at some point, after, like, maybe 4 or 5 attempts, I'd be like, all right, well, she ain't saying nothing. Like, it's time to go. Like, I'm not wasting my time on this. And then she forgets her watch that she mentions earlier is worth a lot of money and means a lot to her, something like that. It's very valuable to her. So she goes back, and then we get the black caretaker guy. I don't remember his name, and he starts saying he would have like put one right between the killer's eyes, and then the killer tries attacking the girl, and that's exactly what he does. He comes out and he shoots the killer right between the eyes, and then he repeats the ever-loving shit out of it until the end of the movie. Like, cool the first 2 times, 3 times, then it starts getting slightly frustrating and grating, and then like by like the 6th or 7th time, it's like, all right, we got to just cut the credits, and then they do, and then you're like, all right, thank God it's over, and that's just such a small little complaint, but just he repeats that line over and over again, like, and it's really not necessary at all. But that is Stage Fright. I love Michael Soavi. I love Stage Fright, and I will be doing a few others of his in the near future. But so yeah, it's my birthday at midnight. I'm going out in a little bit, and I will have 2 birthday-related slashers probably early in the morning tomorrow, and Terrifier and the film I wanted to do with that after those. So take care, guys, and I will see you soon.